Willow Creek, California, was the quintessence of suburban perfection. White picket fences, emerald lawns, and cul-de-sacs, where kids rode bikes until the streetlights buzzed on. The air carried the scent of fresh-cut grass and barbecue smoke, and every 4th of July, American flags fluttered proudly on every porch. At the heart of this idyllic bubble lived Karen Davis, a 42-year-old single mom who ran her life in the neighborhood like a tightly wound clock. Her cream-colored 2-story home stood as a testament to control. Seasonal wreaths hung meticulously on the door, a blessed sign gleamed above the garage, and a Ring doorbell camera captured every stray leaf or wandering cat. Karen's pantry was alphabetized, her HOA dues were paid early, and she kept a leather-bound notebook of neighborhood infractions. Unapproved lawn gnomes, kids biking too fast, dogs barking past 9 p.m. To her, Willow Creek was her kingdom, and she was its relentless queen. On a crisp Saturday morning in October, the kind where the sun gilded the leaves and the breeze carried a hint of fall, Karen bustled around her kitchen, prepping for her weekly ritual. She brewed a pumpkin spice latte in her monogrammed mug, checked next door for gossip, and drafted a stern email to the HOA about overgrown hedges. Her 16-year-old daughter, Sophie, shuffled in, still in pajamas, her blonde hair a mess as she scrolled TikTok on her phone. "Morning, Mom," Sophie mumbled, plopping onto a stool at the island. "What's the crusade today?" Karen huffed, pouring oat milk into her latte. "Mrs. Thompson's Halloween decorations are an eyesore. Orange lights? Really? And Tom's mailbox is peeling again. I'll handle it." Sophie rolled her eyes, popping a piece of toast into her mouth. "You're obsessed. Maybe take a day off from being the neighborhood cop?" "Someone has to keep this place civilized," Karen shot back, adjusting her glasses. She stepped onto her porch swing, latte in hand, and opened next door. She just posted a rant. Orange lights are a blight on Willow Creek, when a faint thwack, thwack, thwack drifted down the street. Across the cul-de-sac, Mrs. Thompson, a nosy retiree with a gossip blog, watered her roses, her eyes darting toward the sound. Next door, Tom, a laid-back dad in cargo shorts, tinkered with his lawnmower, muttering about the noise. Karen adjusted her glasses and zeroed in. A teenage boy, about 17, was tearing down the sidewalk on a skateboard. He wore a faded gray hoodie, ripped jeans, and scuffed Vans, his dark hair poking out from under the hood. With a flick of his foot, he ollied over a crack, spun the board 360 degrees, and landed with a crack that shattered the morning calm. Karen's latte sloshed as she slammed it down. "Not on my watch," she muttered, standing with hands on hips. "Hey, you, kid, skateboarding's banned here. Take that racket somewhere else." The boy, Ethan, skidded to a stop, flipped his hood back, and turned to face her. He had a tanned face, sharp green eyes, and a smirk that radiated defiance. "Chill out, lady," he said, resting one foot on his board. "I'm just practicing. Not like I'm torching your precious roses." "Chill out?" Karen snapped, incredulous. She stormed down her steps, jabbing a finger at a faded "No skateboarding allowed" sign on a lamppost. "See that? It's a rule. Get lost, or I'm calling the cops." Ethan rolled his eyes, hefted his board under his arm, and shrugged. "Fine, I'm out. But you should try yoga. Stress like that's gonna age you fast." He flashed a cocky grin, dropped the board, and kicked off with a parting thud that made Karen's blood boil. "Oh, you little punk," she muttered, yanking her phone from her pocket. She dialed 911 with the precision of a seasoned complainer. "Yes, hello. I need to report a disturbance in Willow Creek." she said, her voice dripping with performative distress. There's this teenager skateboarding illegally, rude, reckless, disrupting everything. Please send someone right away. Sophie groaned from the porch, toast crumbs on her shirt. Mom, seriously? It's just a kid. Rules are rules, Sophie, Karen shot back, pacing the lawn. You'll thank me when this place doesn't turn into a free-for-all. Mrs. Thompson texted the neighborhood group chat. Karen's at it again, cops en route. Tom poked his head out, wiping grease off his hands. Karen, let it go. It's Saturday. Mind your business, Tom, Karen barked, checking her ring footage. She smirked at the crystal-clear evidence. Ethan's ollie, her righteous shout. This wasn't overreacting. It was about principle. 20 minutes later, a police cruiser rolled up, its lights flashing lazily against the pastel houses. 2 officers stepped out. Officer Jenkins, a burly veteran with a buzz cut and a perpetual scowl, and Officer Ramirez, a younger woman with a clipboard and a sharp gaze. Karen met them at the curb, arms crossed, launching into her tirade. He was doing flips and spins right there. Ignored the sign, talked back to me. What's next? Graffiti? Gangs? This is a family neighborhood. Jenkins chewed his gum, unimpressed. Where's he at now? Karen pointed down the street. Ethan hadn't gone far. He was sprawled on a bench a block away, sipping a Coke, his board propped beside him. That's him, she said triumphantly. The little delinquent. The officers ambled over, their boots crunching on fallen leaves. Hey, kid, Jenkins called, hand resting on his belt. We got a complaint about you skateboarding where it's banned. What's your story? Ethan took a slow sip of his Coke, unfazed. Just messing around, officer. Didn't think a kickflip was a felony. He nodded toward Karen, who watched with a smug grin. She's got a real stick-upper. ID. Ramirez cut in, smirking faintly. Let's keep this quick. Ethan dug into his pocket, pulled out a battered wallet, and handed over his license. Ramirez scanned it, then froze. Ethan Carter? She said, her voice dropping. She shot Jenkins a look. Carter, as in... Jenkins squinted at the name, then shrugged. Doesn't ring a bell. Let's just... A low electric hum interrupted him. A matte black Tesla Cybertruck glided to a stop, its angular frame gleaming in the sunlight. The driver's door hissed open, and out stepped a man in his late 40s, tall, lean, with a tailored blazer over a white tee and Ray-Bans perched on his head. He carried an air of quiet authority that made the air shift. Karen's grin wavered. Mrs. Thompson snapped pics from her window. Tom stepped onto his porch, and a small crowd of kids peeked from a nearby driveway, whispering excitedly. Ethan, you good? The man asked, his tone calm but firm, barely glancing at the officers. Ethan hopped off the bench, grinning. Yeah, Dad. Just some lady losing it over my board. Same old stuff. Dad? Karen's stomach lurched. Jenkins muttered, "Oh, crap," under his breath while Ramirez straightened up, suddenly alert. The man turned to Karen, his hazel eyes locking onto hers with a piercing calm. You the one who called? Yes, Karen stammered, clutching her phone like a lifeline. There's a rule, no skateboarding. He was breaking it, and I'm Miles Carter, the man said, cutting her off with a tight smile. He let the name settle, watching her squirm as the weight of it sank in. Karen blinked, the name tugging at some distant memory. Then Ramirez whispered to Jenkins, Carter Tech Miles Carter, and Karen's knees nearly buckled. Miles continued, unfazed. I run Carter Tech. You know, the company behind that phone in your hand. He nodded at her Carter Tech X7, its sleek screen now feeling like a betrayal in her grip. Also just bought Pine Street Software last month. Employs half this town, keeps the lights on around here. Karen's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Miles Carter wasn't just rich. He was a Silicon Valley titan. A billionaire whose face graced Forbes covers and whose innovations powered everything from smartphones to self-driving cars. And she just called the cops on his kid over a stupid skateboard. "I'm so sorry," she croaked, her voice a ghost of its earlier confidence. "I didn't realize..." Miles waved a hand dismissively. "No harm done. Ethan's a handful sometimes. Takes after me that way." He glanced at his son, who smirked and spun his board on one finger like a basketball. "But maybe next time try talking to him first. Could have saved us all a trip." He paused, then added with a dry chuckle, "Oh, and that sign? I had it put up years ago when I lived here. Kept the riffraff out. Or so I thought." Ethan snorted, and Miles shot him a playful look. The Tesla purred away, its sleek form disappearing around the corner, leaving Karen rooted to the spot as the officers tipped their hats and drove off. Mrs. Thompson's group chat erupted with messages. "Karen's toast. Miles Carter just owned her." Sophie poked her head out again, frowning. "Mom, what just happened?" Karen didn't answer, her mind reeling as the reality of her blunder settled in like a cold fog. 5 years earlier, in a sprawling Silicon Valley mansion of glass and steel perched on a hill overlooking the bay, a younger Ethan, just 12, had slouched on a leather couch, playing Fortnite while his dad, Miles, paced nearby. Miles was barking into a headset about a product delay. The room around them a shrine to Carter Tech. Awards lined the shelves, prototypes cluttered the coffee table, and a massive screen flashed stock charts. A framed photo of a younger Miles and Ethan fishing sat dusty on a shelf, a relic of simpler days before Miles's ex-wife had moved to Seattle after their divorce. "Ethan, put that down," Miles snapped, yanking off his headset. "You're not gonna rot your brain on that thing." Ethan groaned, pausing the game. "What else am I supposed to do? You're always working. We haven't done anything fun since Mom left." Miles stopped, his face softening at the mention of Ethan's mom. He tossed the headset onto a chair and sat beside Ethan, rubbing his temples. "You're right. I've been buried. Tell you what, pick something. Anything to get you out of here." Ethan's eyes lit up. "Skateboarding. Saw some guys at the park doing tricks. Looked sick." Miles raised an eyebrow. "Skateboarding? You sure? It's not exactly safe." "Neither's running a billion-dollar company," Ethan shot back, grinning. Miles laughed, a rare, genuine sound that echoed in the sterile room. "Touché, kid. All right, let's get you aboard." The next day, they drove to a local skate shop, Ethan begging for a scratched-up deck with a skull graphic while Miles haggled with the clerk over a helmet. Soon after, Ethan wiped out in an empty parking lot, scraping his knees, and Miles clapped as Ethan got back up, yelling, "That's my boy." They started hitting the park on weekends, Miles timing Ethan's tricks with his smartwatch, betting him ice cream if he landed a kickflip. One evening, under a pink sunset, Ethan nailed his first 360, and Miles whooped, tossing his blazer aside to try the board himself, only to faceplant spectacularly. They laughed until tears streamed down their faces, sprawled on the pavement as the sun dipped below the horizon. But over the next 3 years, Miles' schedule tightened. Carter Tech swallowing his time. Board meetings replaced park trips, and Ethan skated alone more often. Still, the board stayed a tether to those fleeting days. Miles texting proud of you after Ethan sent a shaky video of a new trick. A year before the Willow Creek incident, Miles took Ethan to a pro skate event in San Francisco in a rare free moment. They sat in the stands cheering as skaters flew off ramps. "You could do that someday," Miles said, ruffling Ethan's hair. Ethan grinned, but the moment was fleeting. Miles's phone buzzed with a crisis call, and he was pulled away again. Back in the present, Ethan's board wasn't just rebellion. It was a lifeline to his dad, a reminder of the man behind the billionaire mask before Carter Tech became his whole world. By Sunday morning, Willow Creek was a gossip inferno. Mrs. Thompson had uploaded Karen's ring footage to Nextdoor, Karen versus Billionaire's kid, and it went nuclear. 2,000 likes, 1,200 comments by noon. "Classic Karen move," one read. "She picked the wrong fight." Another. A gif of a skateboarder wiping out looped endlessly, pinned to the top. Karen sat at her kitchen island, scrolling through the thread with trembling hands as Sophie ate cereal across from her. She typed a furious 1,500-word defense. "I've lived here 15 years. I deserve respect. I was protecting our property values. Rules are rules. Someone has to enforce them. This neighborhood isn't a playground for entitled kids or their arrogant parents." But before she could hit post, Sophie glanced over. "Mom, don't. It'll just make it worse." Karen ignored her, posting it anyway. Within minutes, it backfired spectacularly. Tom, the laid-back dad from next door, replied, "Miles paved these sidewalks in 2008. Check the HOA records. You're welcome." Another neighbor chimed in. "Carter Tech sponsors our kids' soccer league. Maybe thank him instead." The thread filled with laughing emojis, memes of Karen's angry porch stance, and a photoshopped wanted poster labeled Skateboard Karen. By afternoon, screenshots hit Facebook, Twitter, and a local Reddit thread with 10,000 upvotes. A YouTube compilation, Top 10 Karen Fails, featured her clip at number 3 by nightfall. Sophie looked up, spoon midair. "Mom, why are you so mad? It's just a post." "Because they're mocking me," Karen snapped, slamming her phone down. "I'm the only one keeping this place together." Sophie rolled her eyes. "You're obsessed. It's a skateboard. Get over it." She grabbed her bowl and stomped upstairs, blasting Billie Eilish through her door, leaving Karen alone with her spiraling thoughts. The next day, Monday, Sophie stormed in from school, her backpack slamming onto the floor. "Mom, it's everywhere. They're calling you Skateboard Karen. There's a TikTok with 100,000 likes. My friends won't stop laughing." "I was keeping us safe," Karen shouted, her voice cracking. "You'll understand when you're older." "You're ruining my life," Sophie yelled back, slamming her door so hard a picture frame rattled on the wall. Moments later, the doorbell rang. Mrs. Thompson stood there holding a printout of the Reddit thread, grinning like a Cheshire cat. "Thought you'd want to see this, dear." Karen snatched it, crumpled it, and shut the door in her face. By Tuesday, Karen was desperate to reclaim control. She called Linda, the HOA secretary and her closest ally. "Linda, you get it, right? I was upholding the rules." Linda sighed over the phone. "Karen, I get it, but..." "Miles Carter, you should have let it slide. Now everyone's pissed. You made us look like petty jerks." Karen hung up, fuming. She decided to bake cookies for the neighbors, hoping to smooth things over. She spent hours perfecting her chocolate chip recipe, arranging them on a tray with a forced smile. But as she knocked on doors, most stayed shut. Tom took one, chewing thoughtfully before saying, "Good luck digging out of this, Karen." Mrs. Thompson smirked through her screen door. "Maybe next time don't mess with a billionaire's kid." Then shut it. Karen retreated home, dumping the tray in the trash and fighting back tears. Wednesday rolled around, and Karen doubled down on her crusade. She printed flyers. Neighborhood watch meeting, restore our rules, and spent the morning taping them to lampposts and mailboxes around Willow Creek. She envisioned a united front, a chance to rally allies. That evening, she set up her living room with folding chairs and a coffee urn, but only 5 people showed. Mrs. Thompson for gossip, Tom for free coffee, Linda out of pity, an old man who fell asleep mid-rant, and a new resident who wandered in confused by the drama. "We need to stand united," Karen pleaded, her voice rising. Tom shrugged, sipping his coffee. "Karen, it's over. Miles is a hero here. You're the villain now." Linda nodded gently. "Drop it, Karen. You're digging a deeper hole." The old man snored, and the new resident slipped out. Karen sank into a chair as the others left, the silence deafening. Thursday, still unwilling to surrender, Karen tried a new tactic. She wrote a letter to the local paper titled "In Defense of Rules," claiming she was a victim of cancel culture and that Willow Creek's values were under attack. She spent hours crafting it, pouring her frustration into every word. It ran in Friday's edition, but the online comments roasted her alive. Skateboard Karen strikes again. "Rules don't make you a dictator, lady." One user even linked the TikTok, now at 250,000 likes. Friday night's HOA meeting became her last stand. Karen arrived in a blazer and pearls, clutching a binder stuffed with evidence. Ring footage, the sign's photo, next door printouts, her letter. The community center was packed, the air thick with anticipation. She stood at the podium, chin high, and launched into her speech. "I stand by my actions," she declared, her voice trembling but defiant. "We can't let kids or billionaires run this place. If we don't enforce rules, what's next? Chaos." The room went silent for a moment, then erupted in laughter. "You call the cops on Miles Carter's son?" A neighbor cackled from the back. "He could buy this HOA and turn it into a skate ramp." Another piped up. "He funded half our budget in the 90s. Show some respect." Karen's face burned as the crowd's chuckles drowned her out. "It's about principle," she shouted, slamming her binder on the podium, but the room only laughed harder. She grabbed her things and stormed out, tripping over a chair in her haste, the whispers of "Skateboard Karen" chasing her into the parking lot. She sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel, her breath ragged as the humiliation sank in. A week later, Ethan returned to the neighborhood, shredding tricks on a custom Carter tech board with LED wheels and a speaker blasting Green Day. The music was just loud enough to irk Karen without breaking any noise ordinances, a deliberate taunt. She peeked through her curtains, fuming, but didn't dare call the cops again. Meanwhile, Sophie had started sneaking out to watch Ethan skate, filming his tricks on her phone. One evening, she came home buzzing with excitement. "He's actually kinda cool," she told Karen, who nearly choked on her wine. "Maybe you should try it, Mom. It's fun." Karen snapped, "Over my dead body." But Sophie just shrugged and headed upstairs, leaving Karen to stew in her resentment. 2 weeks after that, the neighborhood buzzed with a new rumor. Miles had bought the vacant lot next to Karen's house, a weed-choked patch she'd long complained about in HOA meetings. Word spread that he was planning to build a skate park, with a dedication reading, "For the kids who push boundaries and the adults who learn." Karen's stomach dropped when she heard it from Tom over the fence one morning. She tried to fight it, filing a formal complaint with the HOA, citing noise concerns and property values. But at the next meeting, her plea was shot down in minutes. Miles had donated $50,000 to the community fund years ago, and no one wanted to cross him. She stormed into the HOA office the next day, slamming her binder on the clerk's desk. "This is an outrage." The clerk barely looked up. "Take it up with Miles. Good luck." 3 weeks after the rumor broke, Karen made one last desperate move. She invited neighbors to a peace talk at her house, hoping to broker some kind of truce. She set out coffee, pastries, and a printed agenda, her hands shaking as she arranged the chairs. But when the doorbell rang, only Mrs. Thompson showed up, munching a croissant while filming Karen's opening rant on her phone. "You're a local celebrity now," she teased, zooming in as Karen's face reddened. "This is gold for my blog." "Get out," Karen snapped, shoving her toward the door. Mrs. Thompson left cackling, and Karen collapsed onto the couch, the untouched pastries mocking her failure. As the days turned into weeks, Karen's resolve began to crumble. Construction started on the skate park 2 months after Miles's purchase, and she watched from her window as bulldozers rolled in, her complaints ignored by the city council. The groundbreaking ceremony came soon after, drawing a crowd that spilled across the lot. Ethan took center stage, performing a demo run and landing a perfect 540 as kids cheered and drones buzzed overhead, filming for Carter Tech's next ad campaign. Miles stepped up to a makeshift podium, his voice steady and clear. "This is for Willow Creek, and for teaching us all a little patience." A local news crew covered the event, calling it a gift from a tech titan, their cameras panning across the smiling faces. Karen stood on her porch, her latte long gone cold, watching as neighbors mingled and Sophie begged to try the ramps with the other kids. Her phone buzzed with another next-door notification. Skateboard Karen's reign is over. But she didn't bother to reply. The weight of her defeat pressed down on her, heavy and unyielding. Over the next 3 months, the skate park took shape, its ramps and rails rising like a monument to her humiliation. Kids flocked to it daily, their laughter echoing through her windows, and Ethan became a local hero, teaching tricks to younger skaters after school. Karen couldn't take it anymore. Every thwack of a board felt like a jab at her pride. She put her house up for sale, the for sale sign a quiet surrender. As she packed boxes in the living room, Sophie slipped out to the park one afternoon, returning with a grin and a scraped knee. "I landed my first ollie today," she said, beaming. "Ethan helped me. Thanks, by the way. He's cool." Karen froze, her hands trembling around a stack of plates. "Tell him to stay away from you," she muttered, but Sophie just laughed. "You should chill, Mom. You might like it here if you tried." A few weeks later, Karen moved to a quieter suburb 20 miles away, leaving Willow Creek behind. But the legend of Skateboard Karen lingered, whispered at barbecues and HOA meetings. 6 months after the groundbreaking, the skate park held its grand opening, and Miles returned to cut the ribbon. He unveiled a plaque that read, "Built for the rebels and the lessons they teach us." His words met with applause from a crowd that had long since moved on from Karen's drama. Sophie was there, cheering with her new friends, her skateboard tucked under her arm. A year later, Willow Creek had transformed. The skate park became a community hub, hosting movie nights under the stars, summer barbecues with sizzling burgers, even a tongue-in-cheek Karen Day, where locals swapped stories about the saga over lemonade. Sophie thrived, winning a local skate contest with a trick Ethan had taught her trophy gleaming on the mantle where Karen's blessed sign once hung. 2 years after that fateful Saturday, a documentary crew rolled into Willow Creek, filming the rise and fall of Skateboard Karen for a streaming platform. Sophie starred as herself, reenacting her first ollie with a grin, while Ethan gave a laid-back interview about the day that started it all. The producers tried to reach Karen for comment, but she declined from her new, quiet life 20 miles away. Rumors swirled that she'd started a blog about suburban peace, though no one in Willow Creek bothered to check. As the credits rolled on the documentary, the camera panned across the skate park at dusk, kids laughing as they flew off ramps, the sun setting behind a community forever changed.